From the Cronkite studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
Getting their stories out there. One group tells Congress that's the first step in solving the missing or murdered Indigenous women crisis.
How Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport is being affected by the grounding of the Boeing 738 MAX 8 and MAX 9 planes.
Valley firefighters conquer Camelback Mountain to honor one of their own.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Bobby Kraus.
And I'm Taylor Rocha. Thank you for joining us.
Arizona had the third highest number of missing or murdered Indigenous women, according to a recent report by the Urban Indian Health Institute. The problem is vast, the solutions are varied, but advocates say the first step will be getting their stories out. That was the message they delivered today at the Indigenous Peoples of the U.S. Subcommittee hearing in Washington, where Cronkite News reporter Micah Bledsoe was on hand.
The women at today's hearing all agreed on one thing. They need more resources to deal with the problem. But they said they can't get resources without good data to make their case, and they can't get good data without resources.
North Dakota Representative Ruth Buffalo says she wishes she had more data to prove just how prevalent the problem is, which is why she came to Washington today.
So I believe the federal government does need to look at a comprehensive long-term plan and also look at ways to enhance or support local city, county, and state governments.
It was a moment of calm after a sometimes emotional hearing. New Mexico Representative Deborah Holland teared up while saying she wore red in support of her missing and murdered sisters.
All of your work is so important, and I'm grateful for every single thing all of you have done to raise this issue, and I want you to know that I stand behind you 100%.
Witnesses say it's a local issue, but it will take federal help to find a solution, which should include a comprehensive long-term plan focused on resources.
We have to deal with the crisis of domestic violence and sexual assault. Oftentimes, those crimes escalate to murder and homicide. So we need funding for our victim services and our tribal law enforcement.
Tribal victims face many challenges, including layers of law enforcement and a lack of reporting. And University of Kansas professor Sarah Deer says there is another problem. Predators often target Native women for trafficking.
Native girls are targeted in part because they're considered versatile, meaning they can be advertised on the internet as Hawaiian or Asian.
Tohono O'odham Nation Vice Chairman Verlin Jose says it's important to raise awareness of all domestic violence victims, but that Native women seem to be forgotten.
Those are the forgotten. As somebody's mother, as somebody's sister, as somebody's daughter, and that's why it's so important.
In an emotional opening statement, Arizona Representative Ruben Gallego called on advocates and victims to keep the issue alive.
We must prioritize intergovernmental communication to reduce the lag time responding to these atrocities, and we must change the law enforcement protocols to improve the proactivity in combating violence against Indigenous women.
Arizona House members unanimously passed a resolution earlier this week that would establish a task force on missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls in the state. That bill is now awaiting action in the Arizona Senate. In Washington, Micah Bledsoe, Cronkite News.
This afternoon, the U.S. Senate voted to terminate President Donald Trump's emergency declaration on border security. The Senate voted 59-41 for a resolution to halt Trump's emergency order. Trump wants to use his declaration to steer $3.6 billion more to border barriers than lawmakers approved. Trump has promised to veto it, and it is unlikely that Congress will have the votes to override him.
It's very important. It's really a border security vote. It's pure and simple. It's a vote for border security. It's a vote for no crime.
This declaration is a dangerous precedent.
This, for me, is a matter of defending the Constitution and the balance of powers.
President Trump has vowed to veto the resolution. The declaration will likely be tied up in court for several years, as several states have filed lawsuits. More than 400 ICE detainees are under quarantine in Arizona after being exposed to two highly contagious illnesses. In a statement to Cronkite News, an ICE spokesperson says more than 60 people are quarantined due to exposure to the chickenpox at the Florence Detention Center and the La Palma Correctional Facility in Eloy. 345 more people at the La Palma facility were exposed to the mumps.
Phoenix is one of the 3 airports most impacted by the grounding of the Boeing 738 MAX 8 and MAX 9 planes. Yesterday, the FAA announced the grounding of these 2 planes. The announcement comes after 2 different Boeing 737 MAX 8 planes crashed within the last 5 months. Southwest and American Airlines both fly the planes out of Sky Harbor, while United also uses this model of plane. According to analysis by WUSA in Washington, D.C., more than 270 flights nationwide were affected during the past day. As we mentioned, both Southwest and American Airlines use those planes out of Sky Harbor. We checked to see how flights out of our airport are being impacted. Madeline Holler joins us now with the latest on that. Madeline?
I talked to travelers here at Sky Harbor. They agree with the FAA's decision. Earlier today, President Trump commended Boeing for being a leader for U.S. exports, but says they need to find a solution to its faults fast. Passenger June Martyr, who waits at the Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport for her flight, considers herself a global traveler.
I travel all over the world with these 2 suitcases.
The Canada native was worried about possible delays. Nicholas Davis, one of Phoenix Sky Harbor's guest services supervisors, says that he has personally only dealt with about a dozen passengers who have been impacted by the groundings.
Haven't heard of too many cancellations where they have to spend the day. I haven't heard that yet. But as we go on through the day, we'll see how it goes, because it does have a cascading effect.
Davis was on a Boeing 737 MAX 8 just yesterday. He heard the news as soon as he landed.
We know several pilots, and I talked to the pilot on the flight when we got into Phoenix and just told him what a great job that he had done. And he said, well, thank you. He says he loves the airplane. It's just a great airplane to fly. So I think if you polled most of the pilots here in the United States that fly those planes, they would say the same thing.
Phoenix Sky Harbor officials say they recommend travelers to check their flight status with their airline before making a trip to the airport. Like Martyr, the thought of flight cancellations can be stressful.
Well, at first, of course, I wanted to see if mine was canceled, and of course I know at first they weren't going to cancel anything, so I said, well, I hope I'm not on that flight.
But the latest crash has not made Martyr fearful of flying. While Phoenix Sky Harbor is not in the clear for possible delays or cancellations in the near future because of the Boeing 737 MAX 8, accommodations are made for those stuck in Phoenix. While there is no official timeline on when the Boeing 737s will be back in commission, Sky Harbor doesn't seem to be too overwhelmed by delays and cancellations. Live at Sky Harbor Airport, Madeline Holler, Cronkite News.
Well, there are concerns about vaping on school property, but it's not high schools that are raising the red flags.
Coming up next on Cronkite News, see how One Valley Middle School is working to keep its students from vaping on campus.
And good news for Arizona, a season of economic growth could mean thousands of new jobs.
I'm Judy Woodruff, anchor and managing editor of the PBS NewsHour. The journalists of tomorrow face a fast-changing media landscape, but quality news remains vitally important to our communities, our country, and our world. At ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication, students learn solid, reliable reporting, holding the powerful accountable, and rebuilding the public's trust. The Cronkite School and Arizona PBS, preparing the next generation for a stronger future of journalism.
It's important for us, for our own legacy, to continue to expand what PBS can offer to everybody as far as educational platforms, arts, science, nature, and then, of course, all the masterpiece stuff.
We think that our contribution will help to increase to make sure that these programs continue to exist.
We want those things to continue to go on forever.
For more information about including Arizona PBS in your future plans, visit azpbs.org/giving.
With wildfires, a scarcity of water, and other environmental issues facing the Earth today, it's critical to stay up to date with local impacts of a changing climate. That's why we created Elemental, Covering Sustainability, a multimedia collaboration between public television and radio stations. From climate change to water conservation to renewable energy and much more, Elemental covers the latest in sustainability news. Find our stories on our website, elementalreports.com.
According to the 2018 Arizona Youth Survey, 20% of students say they've used an e-cigarette in the past 30 days.
Kyrene Aprende Middle School is taking measures to deter students from vaping on school property.
Cronkite News reporter Alexis Pulick spoke with educators and addiction specialists to learn how to combat this issue.
Carson Crystal, a student at Kyrene Aprende, noticed a new trend taking place at school.
8th grade, like everyone is like, oh, do you vape? It's like, oh yeah, do you vape? Oh yeah. It's like kind of like it's more common, and most people don't really care anymore now because a lot of people do it.
Students told the administration that vaping is an issue on school grounds.
A student focus group said to her that their biggest concern in middle school was not friends, it wasn't their subjects or their teachers, it was the fact that they wouldn't use the restroom all day long because they were so scared of going into the restroom and either seeing someone vaping or getting caught vaping.
The school installed a detector that would alert staff if someone was vaping in the restroom.
Basically how it works is there's a cloud-based website that has all the information about the detector. Once vape or sound is detected in a specific location, that alerts us through an email or text, and then we go to that location and see what's happening in that bathroom.
According to the FDA, e-cigarette use from 2017 to 2018 has increased 78% among high school students and 48% among middle school students. However, educators are clear that the most impactful way to reduce vaping is not through the device itself.
It's not about the gotcha with the kid. If we're not connecting the educational piece with the detectors, then we're really not educating the students and families on how serious this could be and the long-term effect of vaping.
Addiction specialists say parents have a large role to play in prevention.
I always tell parents to think about the 5-year rule. At what age your child is now, think about what they need to know in 5 years and talk to them about it now, because they're more open to the message right now.
To Crystal, the peer pressure just isn't worth it.
The fact that people have to try and fit in and try and do like stuff like that to fit in kind of is messed up, because like you shouldn't harm yourself in order to fit in with your peers.
Mowry says in order to decrease the rising number of middle schoolers vaping, it's going to take a combined effort from educators, legislators, law enforcement, and parents.
A wave of economic growth is hitting Arizona. A state employment report projects Arizona will gain more than 165,000 jobs by next year. According to Doug Walls with the Arizona Office of Economic Opportunity, construction is expected to see the most significant gains with nearly 19,000 new jobs. Manufacturing, business, education, and health are the other industries also estimated to surge.
There really is opportunity for individuals with different skills and education levels to find employment opportunities around the state.
Maricopa County and other urban areas will also continue to experience the fastest employment growth. Now rural regions will enjoy the economic boom thanks to an increase in seasonal visitors and more permanent residents. Coming up next on Cronkite News.
One Arizona university is studying tree rings from around the world. See how it's all in an effort to discover how temperatures are influencing millions of tree acres.
Coming up, I'll let you know how long the sun is going to stay in your 7-day forecast.
By the year 2050, there will be more plastic in the ocean than fish. Before Professor Halden, I had an insane amount of passion, but I almost felt helpless because I didn't know how to use it. Professor Halden gave me a chance to make a difference. Being at a place like ASU allows you to take these big leaps. Ultimately, the biggest problems in the world cannot be solved alone.
Stay in the know on the go. At Cronkite News, we work hard to report the facts and keep you updated, whether we're on set or on the scene.
Taking it from the studio to the field. So I'm here in South Phoenix.
In Phoenix, we're just a click away. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, or find us online at cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
Hello from the children of planet Earth.
Exploring, it's the lifeblood of the mission.
Human beings are a curious bunch.
What are we going to see when we get really close?
Just because an idea is crazy, it's not necessarily wrong.
We were on our way.
You don't get anywhere until you've tested the limits.
That carries an intensity you can't imagine.
You could hear people just, whoa.
Oh my God, absolutely spectacular.
It's a rush. We ask a lot of our heroes.
We are at a remarkable moment.
We're going farther than any exploration ever has.
You can now visit the Casa Grande Ruins National Monument for free. National Park Service officials announced they've eliminated the entrance fee. The park superintendent says maintaining the fee program was an administrative burden. At the park, you can explore the canal system left by ancient Sonoran desert people and see the preserved Great House. It's located in Coolidge, about 55 miles south of Phoenix. The park still welcomes donations.
How does climate impact tree growth? As reporter Alexis Hermanson explains, a recently released global study shows that water is a factor.
2018 was the fourth hottest year on record, and those temperatures affect trees. In 2017, tree cover loss amounted to 39 million acres just in the tropics. That's the loss of 40 football fields of trees every minute for an entire year. But as Dr. David Frank from the University of Arizona explains, new research shows water also impacts trees. That's evident, he says, in the boreal forest in Canada and Russia.
And this is pointing to the ever-increasing importance of moisture availability for our forests across larger and larger areas of the globe.
Frank and his team were part of an international study that used tree ring samples from 2 different time periods.
The work itself relied very heavily upon what's called the International Tree Ring Data Bank.
That data bank has worldwide tree ring samples. Researchers looked at samples from more than 2,700 sites. Every year the tree grows a ring, and the wider they are could indicate the tree had a wetter year.
Some of the individual biological variation is averaged out to understand how the trees and forest as a whole is responding to climate and weather variation.
This map shows that precipitation was a larger driver than temperature in tree ring growth between 1930 to 1960 and 1960 to 1990.
Understanding how they're responding to climate variation is important, not only for if you think about our national parks, but also forest resources, how we're using wood, and the sorts of landscapes that we as society live on.
At the Tree Ring Lab, Alexis Hermanson, Cronkite News.
Future research will include comparing tree ring data with satellite observations and computer models that show how climate affects vegetation.
Now, speaking of climate, Jody Guerrero, our weather girl, joins us to talk weather. I was out reporting at spring training today, and it was absolutely gorgeous. Sun was shining. I think I might have gotten a little sunburn, but how long can we expect this gorgeous weather to stay?
Well, first of all, this is the perfect weather for spring training. I might have to go now. I wasn't planning on it, but the sun is actually going to be around for quite a bit. Right now it's 63 degrees outside. There are a little bit of clouds here and there, but mostly blue skies. There's a little bit of wind at 8 miles per hour, but not as much as it's been lately. Looking at your evening, at 6 p.m. we're going to be in the low 60s. 7 p.m. we're going to hit that 60-degree mark, and then it's just going to slowly move down into the mid-50s for the rest of the night. Looking at your temperatures across the state, the Grand Canyon and Flagstaff are going to be in the 30s, the Rim is going to be in the 40s, and then over here in Yuma, it's going to be the highest at 68 degrees. This weekend, like I said, the sun is going to come out. Tomorrow it'll be a little cloudy, but it's going to come out again on Saturday and Sunday. We're going to reach 80 degrees on Sunday, the low's still in the 50s. Monday and Tuesday, you can expect sun as well. We're going to get a little bit hotter at 85 degrees, and then the lows are going to reach 60 degrees. Wednesday and Thursday, though, the clouds are back, although on Wednesday it's still going to be 86 for a high, but Thursday it'll cool down a little bit. So if you have any outdoor activities planned, make sure to do those this weekend or early next week. With your Cronkite News Weather Update, I'm Jody Guerrero.
Coming up next on Cronkite News, Phoenix firefighters tackled a mountain today.
But it wasn't for a mountain rescue. Details on their honor hike ahead.
I'm Matt Berry, ESPN Sports Center anchor and graduate of ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication. With its bachelor's and master's degrees in sports journalism, the Cronkite School is preparing the next generation of sports journalists to tell stories that matter, stories that excite, inspire, and inform. Cronkite immerses students in covering sports at all levels in one of the country's top sports markets. It's this hands-on experience under the guidance of award-winning sports media veterans that shape the top journalists of tomorrow.
It's important for us, for our own legacy, to continue to expand what PBS can offer to everybody as far as educational platforms, arts, science, nature, and then, of course, all the masterpiece stuff.
We think that our contribution will help to increase to make sure that these programs continue to exist.
We want those things to continue to go on forever.
For more information about including Arizona PBS in your future plans, visit azpbs.org/giving.
If you're looking for one show that tells you what happened that day in the world of business, it's NBR.
We saw a classic shipwreck.
Nordstrom's opening stores.
Triple-digit gains.
Crude climbs.
We're there to help our audience find new investment ideas.
The market still has room to go up.
Nightly Business Report is the longest-running business television program in history.
Weeknights at 10:30 on Arizona PBS.
Cronkite News, weeknights at 5 on Arizona PBS.
Millions of people die every year from drinking dirty water. I would never have felt I had the ability to do something without ASU pushing me. We built filtration systems out of local materials with the people. To see those kids drink clean water for the first time, it's the most rewarding feeling that you can ever have. I went to ASU because I wanted to change the world. The thing I never would have expected is how the world would have changed me.
This morning, Valley firefighters hiked the Echo Canyon Trail at Camelback Mountain, and each step was to honor the life of Captain Paramedic Kyle Breyer, who was shot and killed last year in Scottsdale.
Cronkite News reporter Amani Stevens takes us to the trail.
Kyle Breyer served for 10 years with the Tempe Fire Medical Rescue Department until he was killed on February 4, 2018, after a road rage incident.
Kyle was the best in all of us. Just the way he conducted his life, how much he served others through the Marines, through the fire department as a firefighter, then an engineer, then a captain. He just always served his community.
A year later, Valley firefighters honored the life of Breyer in each step they took on the Echo Canyon Trail.
Kyle used to do this mountain all the time. He was known to do this 2-3 times a week.
I'm not even halfway there yet on this trail, and so far I've walked more than 2,000 steps, and you can see just how steep it is. A friend of Breyer's say he would often hike this trail with sandbags.
He would come up with a sandbag and with his one of his good friends that works in Phoenix Fire, and they would be able to do this within under 30 minutes.
And one time, Kenneth Roman, who graduated with Brayer from the Phoenix Fire Academy, joined Brayer on his favorite trail.
Brayer, because I thought he ran this thing. And I ran all the way up here, and he comes walking up. I'm all winded up. He goes, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I thought you ran this thing." He goes, "No, man, I walked this." Just that he would have been proud to see everybody here.
And friends say it's still hard to be without him.
No, just that I miss him. A lot.
Roman says he plans to do this hike not just once a year, but throughout the year to honor his friend and colleague.
His saying was, pay the price. And that's what you do, you know, not as a firefighter, but as a human being. So, in memory of him, I will always do this hike.
In Phoenix, Imani Stevens, Cronkite News.
Cronkite News is proud to be the news division of Arizona PBS. Here's what's coming up on Arizona Horizon.
On the next Arizona Horizon, we will talk to Republican lawmakers about the latest from the state capitol. And we'll hear about the latest breakthroughs in treating Alzheimer's disease. It's on the next Arizona Horizon.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thank you for joining us.
For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.